What's going on? Coaching Success Radio. Today we are going to be talking about copywriting and how to make the words you use make you money.
As I build my coaching business, I want to know how to effectively serve clients and make more money doing it. This podcast will pull back the curtain to reveal exactly how successful coaches are building their empires. Join me as I engage with top coaches from all over the world to discover their secrets. No theatrics and no theory, just real life strategy. My name is William Winterton, and this is Coaching Success Radio.
Okay, so Mark Twain famously said, the difference between the right word and almost the right word is the same as the difference between lightning and the lightning bug. Now, I grew up in Oklahoma. We had lightning bugs all over the place, and now I'm in Tucson. My kids don't know what that is, but lightning bugs or fireflies, holy cow, they were awesome. You go out at night, your backyard all of a sudden had little twinkly lights flying around everywhere. It's kind of weird. I mean, now that I think about it, we used to trap them in jars and then look at them like little night lights, and I don't know, it was crazy. We had, pre cell phone internet stuff, what you did as a child, I guess. Now, looking at this and you're saying, okay, so what is copywriting? What does this have to do with me and my business? It has everything to do with your business, actually, if you're online. If you don't have good copy, nobody's going to read your stuff. And if nobody reads your stuff, nobody's going to hear your offer, get your message, know who you are, and you're going to be a nobody. So you got to have really good copy. The problem is, there's a huge misconception of what copy is versus what it actually is. And I think a lot of people who are very good in the English language or whatever language you happen to be promoting or presenting in, if you have an A, like a master's degree, like you are a professor in English and you know how to diagram a sentence and you know how to properly use, prepositions in a sentence and not end on a preposition, and if you can tell me what a gerund is, my dad we'd be watching something, he'd be like, that's an adverb. I'd be like, that's great, Dad. Yeah, so if you know all that stuff, that's wonderful, but that doesn't mean you know how to write copy. Copy is not going through and grammatically, writing out your content. Copy is basically, the best way I can describe it is just taking what you're going to say in a conversation to somebody and putting it down in words online. That's pretty much the best definition I've got. But I'm not a copywriter. That's not my main skill set, right? I'm a coach and I have a ton of things that I can do, but copy is kind of not really up on the list at the very, very tip top. So I wanted to bring in an expert who could talk about copywriting and talk about what it means to write great copy, not so good copy, how to do it, should you hire a copywriter, all those questions that we have as coaches and as trying to grow an online business. So I'm super excited to bring somebody in who's been all over the world doing this for a number of years, making incredible money, helping with amazing companies, having a huge success with this business. And I just want to introduce you right now to James Hepburn and have him share his story, a little bit about copywriting, what it takes to do it right, and then give you some strategies for doing this yourself. So I'm going to turn it over to interview right now. All right, welcome to Coaching Success Radio. William here, and today I have James Hepburn. He is out in Australia, and he is a copywriter, which is something that a lot of my listeners you guys have been asking me about copywriting and how to actually reach your audience and how to do it the right way. And I put a shout out to my Facebook group, say, who can I talk to? And James' name kept coming up, and I'm like, well, crap, I got to get James on the show, man. He knows what he's talking about. So I'm super excited to bring him into the audience and see what he's got. James, how you doing, man?
Going well, man. Going well. Thanks for having me on.
People know, as far as copywriting and as far as the actual art of it, what people understand it, but I don't think people quite get what copywriting actually is. So what do you actually do? What is copywriting?
So obviously, copywriting is about writing advertising, essentially. If you were going to break it down to what is the actual act of it, it's writing advertising messaging. So whether that's Facebook ads, landing pages, webinars, whatever it is. What I really think it is, though, is copywriting is writing a message that resonates with your ideal audience in a way that they would respond, be interested to, and then seek you out to get your help to solve a problem. So from my perspective, copywriting is advertising. People get these days caught up on the mechanism or the media platform, I do Facebook ads or I do LinkedIn or whatever the thing is, direct mail. It doesn't really matter what you're doing in advertising. As long as you're in advertising, you're copywriting, in my opinion, because it's all about finding a message that resonates with your audience. That's what's going to make, especially in the coaching world, if you're scaling massive budgets in e-commerce, or if you're spending millions of dollars a day on impression-based advertising, then you could just be a media buyer. Like I got friends that run e-commerce agencies and stuff like that. They were successful guys, and they'll just get the client to send them creatives for like a physical product, and then they're wizards on the back end of understanding how to use Facebook and these different platforms.
So is there like a specific formula that you use when you're actually writing out copy, or does it depend on what's, like if you're doing long form copy, there's a certain way to do it, or if you're doing, like obviously a Facebook ad, you have a limited number of characters. Is there like a formula and a mechanism that you follow, or does it vary?
Everything varies a little bit. It just depends on what it is. When I write long copy, like on Facebook, I write ads sometimes that are sort of 800 to 1200 words long. And with those kind of ads, I will write, that follows like typically an 8-step process I have, but that's just a certain style of ad. Each ad will have like a different formula, if that makes sense. Sometimes I'll just write and see what happens. And because it's all about testing, one of my mentors put a post on Facebook recently talking about how when it comes to marketing, nothing works in marketing. It just works right now. And I really like that because it's a different way of looking at it. And he was sort of saying, like, everyone's looking for the thing that works, but understand that that's sort of like a false premise, because things work right now. And generally in marketing, when they work, people copy them. And when people copy them, they stop working. So you're always testing to see what works.
So it's a constantly evolving game, which has to be exciting at some level.
Yeah, and challenging, I think. It's always something going on.
Because you got to reinvent yourself. And I guess the key is, like you just said, if you create something and everybody goes, oh my gosh, that's awesome, and all of a sudden the market gets saturated with that same message, then it's you're already behind the curve. You got to constantly be thinking forward, I would imagine.
Yeah. And I think the thing that's challenging with the world we live in today with social media and Facebook is as soon as something works and you spend a lot of money on it, everyone can see it. All your competitors, everyone knows it's working because you're spending a lot of money on it, which means everyone's mimicking success. You look at guys like Sam Ovens who do the consulting thing, like then everyone's doing the consulting thing. So yeah, it is challenging in that sense, because once something starts to work, everyone clues onto it.
So is there a way to combat that?
I've never really thought of it like that, like trying to combat that specific thing. It's just accepting that that's the game and working on, like just staying in your own lane. I mean, to be honest, I don't pay too much attention to what other people are doing. Like I'll get inspiration from things. I'm obviously a curious student in that sense, but I'm not trying to find people to copy or whatever. You know what I mean? So no, I think it's just about knowing your metrics, knowing what you're willing to pay for a customer or a client, and then just going from there.
How would you identify the difference between good copy and bad copy? In other words, when you take on a client, they're going to be looking at you and like, James, this isn't working. I don't know why. This sucks. So, what are some of the things you look for that you're like, okay, well, this is probably like, this is why it's not working. This could be A, B, and C. What are some of the top like red flags for you?
Yeah, I would say, well, firstly, I mean, to simplify that to one sentence, it's, if it works, like if it converts, it's good copy, right? It's a very difficult question to say, pinpoint 3 things. I would say for me, like when I read a piece of copy or an ad, I'm very feeling based. So you can often read, this is probably one tip I'll give people. You can often read something and maybe this is part of my skill and my talent, but I can often read something and get a feel for which sentence is just like, oh, that sounds a bit weird. Oh, that could be said in a cleaner way. Oh, that's a bit clunky, if that makes sense. So I'd sort of need to like probably get an ad up here, which I don't have anything off the top of my head, and sort of demonstrate that. But like I was reading an ad that a friend wrote and I was rewriting it last week or earlier this week. And yeah, I just looked for the subtle, like, that could be smoother. Or, people will often say weird things that have like a kind of, that's a bit gimmicky kind of feel to it. So I don't know if that really helps people. It probably sounds very ethereal, but that's, I'll go a lot off feeling, I suppose is what I'm saying. How does the word someone's chosen to use make me feel? Is that clear? Is it concise? Does it create a feeling of like, this is sleazy, or this is just, is there an unease to it? You know what I mean? So I'll look for things like that, which sounds subtle, but like if they bring those feelings up in your prospects, there's a good chance that they'll bounce off the ad or the page.
Just as something you have to develop as a skill when you're doing copywriting. I would attribute that the same kind of a skill like somebody who listens to like let's say you're listening to a group of people singing, you may not be able to identify if something doesn't sound right, if a note's flat or something doesn't quite land in key. You know something's wrong, you just may not be able to identify it. But somebody who's a skilled, like that's what they do, they're a musician, they might go, okay, that was flat or that was sharp. So the same way when you're reading copy, the prospect might read it and go like, it just didn't resonate, it didn't feel good. And somebody like you would read it and go like, okay, yeah, it's this line and this line you're saying, this is too edgy.
It's like anything you're skilled at, like podcast interviewing, you get a feeling for different personalities as you talk to them and like, all right, this person's like this, so I need to ask these questions or dig deeper here or back off here or, or even like music, like I'm anal about music if it's out of time or like, even the smallest thing because you're so used to hearing it a certain way. So it's like a sort of trained skill,
So how did you get into the copywriting game in the first place?
That's a pretty interesting story, man. So I'm 28. I studied engineering and finance at college, and I didn't like it. I did 3 years of a 5-year degree, and then I had a 1-year internship here in Melbourne. I'm from Canberra, the capital, and it's crazy. That was like 7 years ago. I came down here and I worked for General Motors for a year, and I just hated the big corporate world. I've just never, I don't know, I just don't. I've always been very individualistic, and I've never resonated with the idea of wearing a suit to an office and I don't know, the whole robotic big corporate world of just doing what you're told, I don't know, just isn't very not my personality. So I dropped out of that. After that year finished, I quit university. I never went back. And then me and my brother started running a online business that was a bike shop. We sold bicycle parts mainly online. We bought this existing business and it went really, really bad and we lost a lot of money. But through that process, which was super painful, I started to just become obsessed with marketing and selling things online. And I was going to events and reading books and courses and stuff. And I just basically self-taught, really. Like I started just being obsessed. This idea that you could write words that could influence the action people would take kind of captivated me. And then one thing led to another. And I started like just working with people for free and then working with people for not much money and then just getting things working, and I met people at events and then I just started getting paid some money and then half decent, then really good money. And 4 or 5 years later, here we are, started traveling the world. And I lived in Colombia last year and Vancouver and been to the States a lot of times. And yeah, man, it's sort of one thing led to another. So now I'm sort of at a point in my career where I really want to scale that to a bigger business, as opposed to doing a lot of client work. But yeah, dude, it's been a hell of a journey.
So what do you mean scale it? What are you looking at doing?
Just trying to find a more leverageable model. So I've been working lately on a bunch of pay-per lead type models where you would just generate leads and sell them. And then, you can go find big companies. I'm very early on in that process. I'm just working in different markets, trying to test stuff, spending money on ads and not making any, which is fun. But still doing the client stuff because, it's great. It's great money and I still enjoy it. And I love like interacting with people, but it's just very hard to scale that beyond yourself,
Sure. Understood. So tell me, do you give me any idea of what is actually working right now in, let's say, copy is it's such a wide term. It's like, like the word marketing, right? Like you're always marketing. And that's what I tell my clients too. Like in the coaching world, like 90% of what you're doing is marketing and promoting and talking about your business. And then like 10% of it is actually coaching somebody because you've got to get your message out there. So with marketing, I understand it's the same thing. You got paid ads, you've got Facebook posts, you've got email that you're going to be writing copy for your email sequence. There's copy is just, it's everywhere. Everything that you do is copy. So is there something specific that you think is actually in that world is really working now as far as like what's really turning it on for people?
So just quickly, tell me more about the people you coach and what they do.
So the people that I'm working with are probably a lot of people who are listening to this podcast. They're coaches who are relatively new or they've been coaching for a little while and they're just looking to scale their business up. So typically most people I work with have an email sequence of some sort. They might have a funnel. They might do organic traffic. They might do some paid ads, but they're just pretty new in that realm. But most of them are one-on-one coaching I have a few people I know who are doing group coaching and group consulting, but generally just kind of a one-on-one coaching consulting business. Some of them in the business industry, health, relationship, kind of all over the place, but usually just working on their own.
So sort of, would you say on average they're they're below six figures or around six figures, or?
I think most of the people, I know some of you watching and listening are probably at the 6 and above, but most people are probably making less than 5 figures a month, I'd say safely.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So the reason I ask is there's a lot of shiny objects and things like that in the marketing world. And so I would say to anybody making less than six figures, and probably even less than multiple six figures for that matter, so probably most people that will listen to this, forget about paid ads. That's the first thing I would say. And the reason is simple. It's easy to buy into the idea that you need paid ads. And by the way, for the record, paid ads are amazing. And actually, no, you know what, do paid ads because that's how I make money. But I make no money from saying what I'm about to say because it's not my point. I'm trying to give good advice. Right. It's complicated with paid ads. You know what I mean? Like, one, you got the stress of spending money, especially if you're not making a lot, which can affect people's psychology and emotional ability to make decisions. Plus, it's just complicated. Getting used to all the tech, understanding copy, understanding strategy. You'll spend money on courses and you'll waste a lot of time in a way that, yeah, it'll work eventually, but it's just not necessary. I say to everyone, I'm like, all you should do is organic. And when I say organic, all you should do is Facebook Lives every single day and manual outreach and get people on the phone and close them. It's actually really interesting. Like when I started out in this, I was all gung-ho on marketing and stuff. These days, like I was on an interview with a friend that he ran a massive coaching company here. He was turning over like $6 million a year and he had hundreds of clients, and me and him built all the marketing, all the paid stuff for his company and scaled it up. And he's a good friend of mine and he doesn't do it anymore, but he was a really successful guy here in Australia. He was like 25 running this big company with like 20 staff. And he interviewed me about 2 months ago and he said, what would you say to someone starting out now about what they should focus on? And I said, oh mate, it's funny because me and you used to argue a lot about how people should focus on marketing. Honestly, I believe people should focus on sales. I would go out and learn to fucking sell. And the reason I say it is because the US is probably not quite as bad as Australia. Australia is terrible for this, but most people are horrified of selling. They have negative beliefs around money and sales. And if you believe negative things about money, you're not going to have any, you're not going to make any. So that would be step number one, is learn how to sell. Because when you become good at sales and you can just meet people and sell them, you're going to overcome your shit with money and overcome your shit with sales, which is a massive part of breaking through in this game and being able to help people and help yourself. So they're the first two steps. Now, in terms of getting people on the phone, which is the marketing side of things, it's all about creating content. And so from a copy perspective purely, I would go out there and I would learn how to write headlines. That's probably all I'd study. Just learn how to write headlines and look at good headlines I've studied in the past. Now, this is very simplistic advice, very basic, and this is very maybe not sexy, but I'm not about interested in what's sexy, I'm interested in what works. And if I said to someone like, go and do a course in copy and go and learn all these intricate things about wordsmithing and power of threes and all these concepts I could talk about for hours, it's just not what I believe is going to really move the needle if you're below six figures. Anyone below six figures in any business is in the hustling phase. Get on the phone, ring people, cold email people, hit up your friends, get referrals, hit up your network. Like, you got to hustle. People, in my opinion, below six figures that are trying to run paid traffic are generally doing it because they're afraid of putting themselves out there on their personal profile. They're afraid of everything. And so they're like selling themselves this bullshit idea that, if I just run paid ads, I can get leads and I'll sell the leads. And this will sound kind of like woo-woo and hippie a little bit, but I have this belief that, like, if you're not willing to promote your business through Facebook Lives from your organic profile, if you're not willing to get on there and do content and have all the people that know you on a personal level see you as being this coach person, if you're not willing to do that, I believe your paid ads won't convert. Now, that's some woo-woo shit. There's no correlation between the two, but I just believe energetically, like, you're trying to not be who you want to be here and then be this person with your paid ads. It's like, no, you're going to be the same person. And so I say to everyone, like, go do Facebook Lives, go do videos. Anyone that won't do that is afraid. I don't care. I'm not interested in the bullshit excuse behind, my content's not ready or this or that. It's all bullshit. The only reason you won't do it is because of fear, and that's something you need to overcome. So Long-winded story, study how to write headlines, learn how to sell, and do organic strategies. And then once you get to about 200K a year, come and talk to me. That's what I would say to people.
It's awesome. Yeah, I've always looked at paid traffic, and I dabbled in it for a little bit when I was first getting started, and I ran into every problem you were just talking about. And one of the main things about paid ads that really sucks, especially if you're not making the money that you want to be making, like you said, multiple six figures, not just I just barely hit 100K, like multiple six figures. And if you're not making that, then literally you're spending a lot of money trying to learn how to figure out how to do everything that you should be learning for free with the organic marketing and the Facebook Lives and writing headlines. It's a whole lot more effective and a whole lot less money to actually go out and do it yourself and overcome your fear than it is to try and buy your way into it. And that's like so succinct what you just said. I hope people are listening. That was awesome.
And like I said, for me, I just think a big part of it is like, if you're not doing all the things I just said, like if anyone's listening and they're like, oh, you know, maybe they're consciously saying this, or maybe there's just a voice in your head saying it. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, understand that the only reason you're saying that is fear. Like, that's, I think, the big thing. The reason I'm pushed this onto people. I'm like, I don't give a fuck if you're awesome at paid traffic and you can generate all the leads and make money. I mean, if you can do it without doing organic stuff, then sure, I suppose it's working. I'm not going to insist you do organic. But if you're trying to get it to work, again, I know because I've been through it, and like if you go through my Facebook page, you'll see like I've done a lot of content, a lot of really aggressive shit my family hate and people judge me for. And anyway, that's just me. That's my personality. I love it. I don't really care. But I can just tell you now, if you're not willing to go create Facebook Lives and do content, hustle people and get them on the phone and then work on selling them, you're just never going to make it. You know, even if you find a way to make money in the short term, like you're just never going to make it. It's because that's just what it takes. It's just the way, it's that constant waking up and pushing through fear that takes you to the next level. So yeah, that's kind of the way that I look at it. You know what I mean? You just, there's certain things you have to be willing to do to make it in this business. It's a ruthless business. So that's kind of the way I see it.
That's brilliant. That's awesome. I don't want to take a whole lot more of your time. I know you got a lot of stuff going. I know you're crazy busy with your schedule and stuff. Just want to grab you for people who are listening. And again, I don't want to assume anybody who's listening to the show is at any different levels. So I know there are some people who are making very good money who listen to this. The content, the direct of this is everything you said. It's for people who are just growing and scaling and really wanted to get successful. But if there are people listening and watching this at this point and they're ready to move on and scale, what is really the best way to reach out to you and to get some help with you on their copywriting and start making that leap from going strictly organic to getting the paid ads and going through hiring a copywriter like yourself?
Yeah, sure. So just have me on Facebook, facebook.com/james.hepburn, spelled the same way Audrey spells it, .182. Or just go to my I would also say to people, whether you want to work with me or not, go check out my website. I've posted probably about 5 or 10 like 3,000 word articles that are super in-depth breakdowns, case studies of funnels I've built in the coaching space, line for line copy, like crazy stuff no one would give away for free. I just kind of enjoy creating content. And that's just jameshepburn.com.au. You'll go on there, go to my blog. You'll see all these, I broke down funnels that have generated $100,000 a month in the coaching space. And I'll actually, I'm not even sure if you've seen that, William. I'll send you that link too.
Yeah, send it and I can put it in the show notes too. Cause I know I don't know if I followed that. I've obviously checked out your Facebook, and I've got a lot of referrals from people who literally, I just want everybody to know who's listening. Like this was like finding James. We didn't know each other, hadn't spoken to each other at all until about 30 minutes ago. But I just, because of the level of work that he's done and the stuff that you have got to put out, I've had 4 or 5 different people at different times mention his name. So that tells you that this guy knows what he's talking about. So again, if you're really insistent on jumping out and doing Facebook ads and like that's what you want to start with, you got a guy right here who's like top of the line. He's saying, like, that's wrong. Don't do that. Stick with the organic, which is what we preach a lot on here too, is that you got to just go out there and get past your fear and move on. So, but yeah, I haven't checked out your Facebook, your website. So
I just sent you the link.
Yeah. Awesome. Sweet. I'll throw it in. James, this has been incredible. And I just appreciate you getting up early in the morning and, jumping on the podcast with me and having a conversation. I'm
a bit more awake, mate, than I was when we first started talking. So it was almost like getting up and drinking a coffee, which is good for me too, mate. So thanks for having me on.
Well, good, man. That's probably the best compliment I've gotten all day, man. I'm like, coffee. It's fantastic. It's good to have you here, and I'll talk to you later, bud.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking us out. New episodes are coming out every few days, including lots of conversations with massively successful coaches sharing their secrets with you. So be sure to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel so that you don't miss out. And if you're looking for a way to start making serious money from your coaching, you need to check out my free training. It's at williamwinterton.com. I lay out the step-by-step on how to start making 5 figures a month in the next 60 days. Check it out, williamwinterton.com. I'll see you next time.